Hi everyone, replacing the thermostat on the cooling system for the C180, W203, m271 engine. Is it an easy job? Well, you'd think so, wouldn't you? All you've got to do is undo these two bolts. They're quite long. Pull them out of the way, pull off the thermostat housing and put in the new thermostat. Well, it's not as easy as that. Wasn't as easy as that for me anyway. You may find a similar situation. Over the years, the plastic or ABS housing for the thermostat becomes quite secure inside of the aluminium front piece of the engine, and it sort of calcifies in there. I had quite a job getting it out. Plus there's quite a serious O-ring just in from the outside, just inside the it's on the actual housing, but just a few millimeters in from this edge here. There's quite a large O-ring which was probably holding quite well also. So just take off this intake. Just unclips quite easy, and then just carefully unclip your hose retaining clip there. The hose will just pull out. I just pulled it back out of the way here. Not a lot of coolant came out, to be fair, but that was okay. And then I had the job of trying to get the housing out. Well, I think prepare yourself for a new one. I actually have, this is a brand new one. I bought it before I started the job because I wondered if this would give me trouble. So I've put in the new one with the new thermostat and the new O-rings. Oh yes, you need to remove the front fascia cover that just sits out in front of the camshaft magnet section. Once you've actually got this clear of the engine, it's quite easy going, but I really had a lot of trouble. I actually had to prise it very carefully side to side with different size blade screwdrivers, slowly working up the size, as I didn't really want to break the original one. So let's have a look and see what the original one looks like. Get a better view on this. Might just move it over here into the shade. Okay, well this O-ring here is a flat one. That one is a flat one, and it sits on this surface here on the it sits on this surface here on the outside of the thermostat and fits into this little ridge here, this little ridge just here. I found it easy to assemble my new thermostat, putting the flat O-ring in place, sitting it just here, and making sure the orientation of these two tabs is correct, because it's actually like an off-center hole in the housing that this thermostat goes into, and it's offset with these tabs, and these tabs here clip into these two spots here, there and there. If you don't get that right, you could have trouble. It's very important that the thermostat is in the right orientation. You can see how calcified this was. This was really quite a bear to get out. I didn't break it, but I thought, see, when I bought myself a new one, I may as well put the new one in place. While I was at it, I just pulled off the O-ring. Now with the kit, if you just buy the thermostat on its own here, you get this O-ring here, plus they give you a new one of these ones here, which makes sense because when you put the housing back in, you want to put a new O-ring for that as well. and they also give you a new clip, so I've used the new clip, and I'll keep hold of this clip because these things are really important and not easy to get hold of if you want one in a hurry. So my thermostat is definitely in trouble. It's not seating. Water was getting straight past it when it was cold, but hard to see, but it's not seating, and you can see daylight through there. And my car wasn't really getting up the temperature, so I've been putting up with that for a little while. Then when this new housing arrived, I bought it online. Once the new housing and thermostat had arrived, I decided to go ahead with the job, thinking it would only take me maybe half an hour, but it actually ended up taking me a couple of hours. So the first thing that went wrong was one of the long bolts holding this housing in place. I dropped that. I dropped it down in behind the front of the bumper, and I had a heck of a job locating that with my magnets, trying to pull that bolt back out again. Anyway, that took me about half an hour to get the bolt back. Forgot that. And then one of the other things that went wrong is that I knocked one of the screwdrivers off the top of the engine housing. It went down the side of the engine, and it landed up down the bottom of where the steering where the steering box is on the rack and pinion. I could see it down there. I tried fishing it out with the magnet. It just wouldn't come. That took me another half an hour to get the screwdriver back. So I guess, learning from my experience there, put plenty of rags around, covering off any spaces that are likely where you can likely drop things, because it is a real pain when you when you have to try to locate it again. And you shouldn't have too much trouble after that. The thermostat will actually hold itself into these clips here. So when you go and insert it back into the engine, you just get your orientation just like this. Just push it in carefully. Now it won't go into the housing because the O-ring is quite tight. So then just ease your two bolts in, and I was just slowly pulling it together with the bolts. Just a little turn on each side and slowly pulling it into position. Knowing that everything is good on the inside with my square washer, also my square O-ring, and my thermostat in the correct orientation, and everything was good. So I've had the engine running. Engine's getting up to temperature now. I'm very happy with how the job has ended up, but just a little bit of care required. Hopefully yours will come out easy. I actually cleaned all this up inside of the housing and washed it all out nice and cleanly, topped off my coolant again, and I'm hoping that that's a job completed. So thank you for viewing, and if you've got one of these C180s compressor, and it's the W203 frame, engine is the m271, and you have to replace this thermostat,